Alrighty, so this is just a quick video on how to create a contingency in JotForm. I am actually just going to go into create a whole new entire form. If you wanted to do a PDF, you always need to start. You want to start with a PDF first. Here, it's easier. It's the easiest. But if you're just creating a regular form, I'm going to start from scratch. Never use the card one. I say never. I guess there's some places for it, but I don't recommend them. You want the classic form. You can also build it out from a template, but personally, I feel like I spend more time trying to find the template and tweaking it versus creating the one that I already have. Oh, another tip here is so JotForm gives you their templated design, which is this weird brown version, which I find very ugly. You can go into this little paint thing and you can change it, and you can change the, make a nicer theme or whatnot. And it does it on its own. Personally, what we do is we have kind of a templated background form that we have created. And then anytime we need to create a new form, we just duplicate that form and use that background. So that makes it a lot nicer and easier. But we're going to do something a little more simpler than this confetti. There we go. Okay. So contingencies. Let's use, now there's a couple different types of contingencies, and I'm just going to throw some questions in here this way. Because you can make a whole section contingent, or you can make things contingent on each other. Single choice is often where you're going to see contingencies done. Let's see, I don't know what we wanted to drop down. Okay, let's use it this way for now. So the simplest is making one button bring down other questions. So let's say, I don't know. Is there a well? So that's your question. You're going to put yes, no. You can have more than 2 answers on there. That's fine. And then this question is going to say last time tested. Okay. So if this was the form you were using, you could go in here and you want to make all of these required, but you don't want to make this one required if there's not a well. You don't want to make it required and agents or anybody else have to fill in because it's just an extra step. However, if you don't make it required, then sometimes it won't be filled in because it's not required and they don't have to. However, you want that information if there's a well. So you can go into settings, conditions, and then show hide field. Okay, so if there is a well is equal to yes, show last time tested. Okay, let's see if that worked. Okay, so here's the form. When they select yes, it says last time tested. If they would say no, there's nothing there. Okay, so let's take that one step further and say, okay, you want this to say name, email, and then you want them to select whether or not it's a buyer or a seller. Because you are going to ask different questions according to what they are. Now on our end, if they are a buyer and a seller, we would fill out 2 different forms. It's usually 2 different agents filling out the form, but we don't create it. However, we do have a form that has multiple options here, and it pops up with different questions according to, I think there's 6 different options on here. Okay, so when you have this, you want it to drop down one thing with the buyer and another if a seller. So let's say you want it to say, is there a well? Yes, no, last time tested. If the seller pops up and you want it to say, okay, I know this is very grammatically incorrect, but you're going to ask them if they want a well test if they're a buyer. But you don't want to ask that if they are a seller. So you're going to go down here and you use these little section collapses, and you're going to surround it where you want them to be seen. Whoops, sorry, I hit the wrong thing. You just delete it there. I hit divider instead of select section collapse. Okay, now what I often do is whatever section that is, name it here. It's easier to find it. So if this is my seller section, oops, it's not letting me go back and change it. There we go. Okay, and this is my buy section. And then this is my end of document. Now you want to put one at the bottom if you have a drop down like this or somewhere, because if you don't have this bottom one, your submit button will end up in the buyer section. So it won't show unless you have the buyer selected. So we often call this one end or submit or something like that. Okay, so now you have the form built out, and it also depends on whether or not you want to show these sections. So if I were to look at it right now, under properties, you have these two sections, and it says section visibility, hidden or visible, and button visibility, hidden and visible. I'll show you what that looks like real quick, because this is where you can also have other drop downs. So right now I'm showing the buttons, but the sections are hidden, meaning you can't see them. But if you click on them, you can see them like that. And then the end button. I want to remove all of this so you don't see it until you click on one of these things. So I'm going to make the buttons hidden, and this section, this one always gets me, and I'm probably going to have to go back and look after the contingency. Well, let's just look at it. Yep, okay, that's fine. So you want everything hidden. So I want this one hidden. Now this one, I want the button, meaning this, I want it hidden, but I want the section visible. And that should, yep, it took away the buttons, but I now have a visible submit button here. So, which if I made this required, even though the button there's a submit button, if I don't click in it or select something here, it's not going to show. See? And right now, if I click on these, it's not doing anything because I haven't created the contingency. So back to contingency here. Conditions. New. I'm going to leave this one because I still want that question to pop up. You can also edit here, and you can also clone or duplicate it and create it with a similar section. And so add a new contingency. Let's see here. Oh, I'm in the wrong section. Hold on. Nope, sorry. Okay, buyer client, there we go, is equal to buyer show buyer selection. And this is why you want to label those buttons. So I'm going to save that, and then I am going to duplicate that, and then I'm going to edit that one and say if it's equal to seller, show this seller section. Okay. And JotForm automatically saves and publishes, so I don't have to go into here every single time and copy this and do all that stuff. I just go over here and refresh. Okay, so now I fill in my information. I select buyer. The question pops up, which I didn't make this required, but I could, and I usually do. If it's a pop-up, I just didn't for this. And then you can hit submit. If you go back and hit seller. Now, sometimes with contingencies, and this is a little weird, if you hit one and it drops something down and then you hit something else, sometimes the question still shows. It's kind of a little glitch. This one did it properly. I just wanted to let you know that. So is there a well? You're asking the seller, is there a well? Yes, there is. Last time tested, and you would put in the information. You could also make that a date field or a time field or whatever you want. You can also quickly, to go over a few more on the settings of contingencies, you can, let's see here, add a new condition. You can have it send to different people, change email receipt of who gets it there based on certain things. Calculated fields, this is where I built out the commission form. This one is a little awkward. I don't know if it will let me do one based on what I put in here, but let's see. Okay, if this is filled, let's do that. You can copy the field's value, calculate, but this is usually what I use, calculate a field's value. You can also copy it and multiply it and stuff like that. So you have to use these buttons, which is awkward. If I put in a 2, it will type it in there, but it won't do anything. So I want to take this, and I want to take that and say last time tested. I'm going to multiply, again, you can't use the keyword, you have to use that, by 2, and then, well, hold on. I need to make another button for it to make this work for my example. So we're going to say, I don't know, I'm just making this up. Let's see, we need that doesn't work. I can't think of a math question right now for a well, but we are just going to say, how deep is it? I don't know. And then for some reason, maybe we need to multiply that by 2 to figure out realistic. Well, that's going to sound weird. Okay. Sorry, my 13-year-old boy is playing in my brain and I cannot ask those questions. So I can't even think of a question. I don't know. Okay, so we're just going to multiply this answer and get a total. Let's make it easy. Okay, so back to settings. Now, if you change the condition and it messed up another one based on something else you had, it will change a color here for you. Since we just used the same question, just changed it, it automatically updated the wording here. If we would have taken this out, it would have let us know that this condition is no longer working and we needed to put in the new answer, the new option that we used. Oh, no, save. Okay, so I'm going to add a new condition and calculate a field. We are going to take the multiply answer, and when it is filled, we are going to calculate a field's value. So we are going to say multiply answer times 2, and then we want that to show in the total. think that was under seller, yes. Okay, so we want it to say 3, and it automatically figured in the 6. If you had it going to a PDF, like we've talked about before, that answer can go directly onto a PDF. Something else we often do with contingencies is that we will create, as we have question or calculations that we don't want anybody else to see, but we need back-end calculations. So we will create a separate divider and completely, section collapse, and we will completely hide it, and we will call it calculations. So this one is not contingent at all. It completely hides everything. So we might have this question right here, down here. And then we have another question here that says mega total. And that is put up here. And then we build out the same similar calculation. So that would be if total is filled, then we want to calculate. So we are now going to take the total value, and we are going to, and it will do some algebraic math in here too. You just need to kind of figure it out ahead of time before you put it in here, and make sure that you use these. You can add comma fields and stuff to it too. If you click that, it gives you some options onto what you can put in here, and you can always Google what you're trying to find, and it will often help. And JotForms is really helpful too, as far as if you're, like, we had to figure out how to add a comma in our numbers, and they told us how to do it. So, but you can, let's say we want to add 65 to it, and we want to add that into the mega total. So right now what we have set up is that the number that you put in to multiply is going to times by 2 and then add 65 to give you the mega total. So let's see if that works. So we want to refresh this. We're going to go on the seller again, mega total. Oh, and I messed up my contingency. Oh, no. So I did not make this one contingent based on this yes, which I could have, and it wouldn't have showed. But since I didn't, it is showing up here. Okay, so we are going to put, let's see. So if I put in 3 times 2, so that would be 6. Our answer should be 71. Let's see if that works. Yep. Okay, hopefully that helps. Oh, integrations real quick. I'll go over some of those. Super easy. You just click on what you want. So here's Slack. You just add it, connect it, and add it into the channel. MailChimp. So if people fill out a form, you can have them directly go into your MailChimp. Dropbox. We don't take payments, but you can hook it up to a PayPal account, which is nice. Google Drive. Monday.com. We use that one as well. All sorts of integrations. It says these are new. They're not. I don't know why those are still there. And then thank you page. You can change your thank you page. You can redirect it to an external link if you want it to go somewhere else too, which is really nice. Okay. Feel free to, when I post this, if you have questions, feel free to post in the comments of the Facebook post.